Mbelwa 5 declares Mzimba not for division. And in business news coming up later, Continental Holdings Limited lists on Malawi's stock market today. We'll now give you the news in detail. Government says reconstruction works of the 105-kilometer Chiweta-Karonga road will commence in November this year. Minister of Transport and Public Works Japi Mhango made the assurance in Karonga yesterday during an engagement with civil society actors, saying currently a team is evaluating submissions to identify a contractor for the project. Adam Zunaninga gives us this report.
On Saturday, Minister of Transport and Public Works Japi Mhango held an engagement meeting with civil society actors in Karonga aimed at providing an update on the reconstruction of the 105-kilometer Karonga-Chiweta road, currently in a dilapidated state. Speaking to the press, Mhango assured the residents in the district that reconstruction of the stretch is on course, with the contractor expected to be on site by November this year. The line minister also disclosed that the team is in the process of evaluating submissions to identify a successful bidder for the project.
We want to make sure that by November, early November, we have got a contractor on site. A contractor on site, meaning that at that point, we'll have commenced working on this road. But the process, the program processes are currently underway.
On his part, Road Authority Chief Executive Officer Engineer Joe Longwe said the road will be constructed to international standards as government has changed the designs for the road with pavement layers stabilized. A member of the civil society network, Obet Mkandavire, said the engagement meeting was crucial in establishing a point of contact with the line ministry, urging government to walk the talk by reconstructing the road.
It's not the first time that has happened. In the past, it has ever happened without the government fulfilling whatever they wanted to do. So on our part, we wanted really to have a commitment from the minister that they are doing it.
Recently, the Human Rights Defenders Coalition halted their plans of holding demonstrations, opting for dialogue with the government. Reporting for Zodiac, this is Adams Clement Undaning.
Paramount Chief Mbelwa 5 of Mzimba has called on those advocating for splitting of Mzimba to abandon their plans, saying it has the potential of dividing people in the district. Speaking during the 2026 Umteto Cultural Festival at Hora in Mzimba, Paramount Chief Mbelwa observed that development cannot take place where people are divided, insisting splitting the district should be the last resort. Adam Zunaninga gives us more in this report.
Observed under the theme United for Land Preservation and Sustainable Development, this year's Umuteto Cultural Festival attracted local and international delegates. Addressing a mammoth crowd that gathered at Hora in Mzimba, Paramount Chief Mbelwa V observed that development cannot take place where people are divided. The Ngoni Chief also disclosed that plans are in the pipeline to develop Hora Heritage Center by constructing a hotel and a museum, among others, in a bid to promote tourism, which is key for the country to rake in the much needed forex. Kumbo Bozo Soko is Secretary General for Mzimba Heritage Association, and he stresses the point on why Mzimba should not be divided.
If you look at the logic of resource allocation, there is nothing that would justify the cause for the division of the district. And so we wanted to deliver today. We hope that we won't be bothered again, and it's a distraction for us. But we wanted to deliver a very unequivocal message that insofar as we are concerned, the position of the Heritage Association is that Mzimba is a body, is one, and it should not be divided.
On his part, the country's second Vice President, Enoch Chihana, said that soon government will embark on the construction of Mombwa University, insisting that government has committed 14 billion kwacha for the project, with additional resources to come from the corporate sector through the private-public partnership arrangement.
Very soon, I think the project Mombwa will start, and also you can see that there is a lot of work on the roads and other developments. But mainly in Mzimba, what is coming first to be the Mombwa University very soon.
Some of the notable delegates included Inkosi Zintambira from Mozambique, Inkosi Mzamani from Zambia, and Zurugama from Songea in Tanzania. Reporting for Zodiac from Zuzu, this is Adams Clement Undaning.
Still at the Umteto Cultural Festival, Second Vice President Enoch Chihana said the construction of the Mombwa University in Mzimba is awaiting a nod from the Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Authority, PPDA, for works to commence. Chihana made the remarks during this year's Umteto Cultural Festival, where he disclosed that government has set aside 14 billion kwacha for the construction of the university, with over 300 billion kwacha to come from the private sector under public-private partnership arrangement. Vanani Nyirenda tells us more in this report.
Second Vice President Enoch Chihana says plans to construct the Mombwa University in Mzimba district are still on track. Chihana said the government has set aside 14 billion kwacha for the construction of the university, while over 300 billion kwacha will come from the private sector through the public-private partnership arrangement. He said most of the paperwork has been done, and what remains is the approval of the Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Authority for work to commence. He disclosed that the plan is to transform the area into a university town with all necessary amenities in place. Chihana also assured people of Mzimba that government will resume construction of the Esquazini-Mzarangwe-Kafukure Road, which has stalled due to payment issues.
Very soon, I think the project Mombwa will start, and also you can see that there is a lot of work on the roads and other developments. But mainly in Mzimba, what is coming first to be the Mombwa University very soon.
Speaking area, Inkosi Yamakosi Mberwa 5 called for support from government and the private sector to transform the foot of Hora Mountain into a tourism site with a royal palace, a hotel, and a small stadium, among others. This year's Umuteto Cultural Festival, also graced by the first Vice President Jane Ansah, was held under the theme Mzimba, United for Land Preservation and Sustainable Development. For Zodiac, I am Vanani Nyirenda.
And now in business news, the Minority Shareholders Association of Listed Companies, MISALICO, has called on government to have some of its enterprises listed on the Malawi Stock Exchange, MSCE, to enable indigenous Malawians own part of the businesses. MISALICO General Secretary Frank Harawa said this as Continental Holdings Limited, CHL, is expected to be listed on the stock market today, pushing the number of companies on the counter to 17. More details in this report by Kenford Ndima.
General Secretary of the Minority Shareholders Association of Listed Companies, Frank Halawa, says the country's stock market has been stunted since its establishment in 1994 with less than 20 listed companies. He appealed to the government to let Malawians own part of its enterprises by listing them on the Malawi Stock Exchange, arguing this would improve on their management and accountability.
Government has got more than 70 companies in its hands. We're talking about here like the Mzimba, we're talking about the Salima Sugar. For those companies to really grow and become profitable, there's a need for them to list on the Malawi Stock Exchange. A good example is the listing of Sunbelt, where government has got 70% shareholding in Sunbelt. Look at the performance of that company.
Chief Executive Officer of the Malawi Stock Exchange, John Kamanga, says on Monday the number of listed companies on the stock market will increase to 17 as Continental Holdings Limited has finalized necessary processes.
We haven't yet started actually trading in terms of secondary trading of actually CHL, but based on the response from the general public, this listing has been backed up by lots of retail investors, which is quite encouraging. It signifies the confidence which the retail investors have on the Malawi Stock Exchange, but also in terms of actually the counter itself.
Meanwhile, Kamanga says the Malawi Stock Exchange is engaging with other enterprises to have them listed on the stock market. For Zodiac, I'm Kenford Ndima.
And you're watching news on Zodiac, and you're with me, Sam Kabambe. We'll take a short break and be back shortly. Welcome back. Another look at the top stories as we proceed. Government says rehabilitation of 105-kilometer Chiweta-Karunga Road to start this November. Body of MBC Director General Brian Banda to be laid to rest in Blantyre today. Inkosi Yamakosi Mbelwa 5 declares Mzimba not for division. In business news, Continental Holdings Limited lists on the Malawi stock market today. Moving on with the news, today the body of the iconic broadcaster Banda will be laid to rest in his Banda village in Chileka Township in Blantyre. Banda, who until his demise served as the Director General of the State Media Malawi Broadcasting Station MBC, died on Saturday morning at a private hospital. President Peter Mutharika, First Lady and the media have since paid tribute to Banda's impactful journalism career and the lives he touched through his sharing of the gospel. He died after a short illness, MBC said in a statement.
He has lived 45 years on earth. Today, he walks his last mile. The 4.5 decades of Banda's life has been adventurous. The late Banda managed to be a channel of communication for 3 totally different governments in Malawi. The late Banda was press secretary for Dr. Joyce Banda and answered questions on behalf of former President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera as his spokesperson in the early days of Tonsa Alliance. He has died as Director General of Malawi Broadcasting Corporation, MBC, the official government mouthpiece. Banda, a professional, a family man, and a believer, is gone, but definitely not forgotten. For ZBS in Blantyre, this is Emmanuel Chibana.
Health workers at Likulowa Institute of Orthopedics and Neurosurgery, Leon, have expressed worry over the growing number of patients seeking treatment directly at the tertiary facility as it is worsening overcrowding and increasing pressure on health workers. Principal Nursing Officer Sipo Chirwa said the hospital is being forced to provide services beyond its mandate as a tertiary referral hospital, resulting in resources meant for specialized tertiary care being used for primary and secondary cases as well. More in this report from Sarah Temple.
A visit by Zodiac to the Likulowa Institute of Orthopedics and Neurosurgery found overcrowded wards with units designed to accommodate about 30 patients each, now holding more than 100 patients. Some male patients are sleeping in sections of the female ward, while others are being accommodated in corridors because of limited space. Principal Nursing Officer Sipo Chirwa says although the hospital receives an allocation intended for its expected referral workload, the number of patients being handled is now 2 or 3 times higher than anticipated.
But what we are handling, most of them are primary and secondary. We would want to send them back to their primary healthcare points. But a patient, if has come here and you tell them go back to your nearest health center, that won't sound good for them.
Health advocate Maziko Matemba says government should review the implementation of the bypassing fee policy to help address the challenge.
What we can urge ministry is to make sure that we have hospitals who are equipped with other services, like in this case, the issues of injuries and trauma, where maybe other facilities might be providing that service, but not to the standard which maybe Central Hospital is providing.
More than 100 patients are currently admitted to the Likulowa Institute of Orthopedics and Neurosurgery, exceeding the hospital's capacity of 60 beds. For Zodiac in Likulowa, this is Sarah Tembo.
Parents and guardians have been encouraged to do more in improving the social life of their children for them to become reliable citizens in the future. School of Gentlemen Executive Director Tawina Mbeza says there is need for parents and guardians to always find time of sharing information with their children on matters affecting them. He was speaking in Likulowa at the end of the second cohort of the boys' camp.
All right. The second cohort, which we just had from the 6th day of August, was quite amazing. It was an eye-opener. It was more exciting and so forth. The first one was amazing as well. We just built up to be bigger. First cohort we had 6 boys. This second cohort, we had 20 boys. So you can imagine the trajectory of which we've picked. It means parents are seeing what we're doing, they're trusting what we're doing, and actually a lot of them are wanting their parents to come. So we have a lot of inquiries. We have people already starting to pay for the next cohort. Since the holidays are still going on, we're we have set another cohort on the 20th to the 22nd of August. So we've seen growth. We've seen these young men are intelligent. Most of them are leaders. All of them are actual leaders. So what's really left is just for us to harness that leadership and bring it out. Every child has their own special needs. When we identify that and give them positive reinforcement, they excel. So from day 1 to 3, we've seen these boys excel extremely. We would like to encourage the parents to have their children express themselves, but at the same time guide them in terms of being in the right path. It's understandable that most parents are trying to get from one project, one job to the other, but we really would like to encourage them to spend time with your kids. Be intentional about spending time. It doesn't always have to be a lecture. One of the things that we had given the kids, we had playing cards, we had chess. These are some of the basic things that you can do, especially when it's interactions that do not require electricity and devices. So you see, what will happen is, if you want to have a clear chat with this young man, is get a deck of playing cards and play with him. While you're playing, it's very easy for him to open up because you're challenging him, he's winning, and so forth.
And one of the parents who sent their children to the camp, Ezekiel Mfune, said there is need to encourage the boys to put into practice the knowledge and skills they have acquired.
First of all, when I read about the School of Gentlemen, I realized that most of the times, us as parents, more especially some of us that we are doing business, most of the times we don't have time to sit down with our children at home and possibly tell them the things that they need to know in life. So when I read about this School of Gentlemen, I felt it was necessary to bring him in, because for 3 days I knew that they're going to have enough time to talk to him. Basically, I'll sit down with him and I will actually continue from where they have stopped from here. I know I've been talking to him, so basically I'll need to sit down with him and continue encouraging him and reminding him whatever he has learned here.
And the new Vice Chancellor of the Mombwa University of Science and Technology, MUST, Associate Professor Mombwa Mipando, says it is possible to break the fear among girls that science, technology, engineering and mathematics STEM subjects are difficult and only for boys. Professor Mipando told Zodiac at the closure of the 2-week STEM camp of over 80 secondary school girls from various schools that every girl has endless possibilities to pursue the fields. Luca Benston files this report.
Associate Professor Mombwa Mipando says the aim of the camp was to encourage girls to pursue science subjects in secondary school and to expose them to scientific innovations.
We want first and foremost to encourage the girl child to not fear to undertake studies in sciences. So we want to make sure that we break that fear where some girls would say, no, I cannot do science because science is not for girls. So we want to show them first and foremost that they can do study science.
The main motivational speaker was Chris Molosoni, a chartered accountant who was among the top 3 science students in the 1990s MSc examinations, encouraged the girls to develop an interest in science subjects.
There's always a myth that says a girl child cannot do STEM. So all my life growing up, I have been so passionate about STEM. Myself, I've done science, I've done mathematics. I am in accounting. I'm a chartered accountant, but I've done so well in STEM.
One of the participants, Lingala Tujingwanda, said they learned about several innovations including drone technology, 3D printing and mushroom production. The 2026 STEM camp brought together top performers from both public and private schools. The girls also visited the Nkula hydropower station to learn how electricity is generated.
And that's where we end this bulletin, but before we go, another look at the top stories. Government says rehabilitation of 105-kilometer Chiweta-Karonga Road to commence this November. Nkosi Yamakosi Mbelwa 5 declares Mzimba not for division. In business, Continental Holdings Limited lists on the Malawi stock market today. And the body of MBC Director General Banda to be laid to rest in Blantyre today. And as Malawi bids farewell to a son of the soil, my former friend and colleague, Banda, rest in eternal peace. I am Sam Kamembe. Thanks for watching and good morning.